Welcome to the Consultant's Way podcast, where we explore the world of professional services consulting. Hosted by Dean McMann and Anthony Paluska, each episode delivers expert insights, real-world stories, and interviews with top consultants to help you refine your consulting skills.
So Anthony, here we are, and we're going to do our some time on what's going on in our world.
Yeah.
And then, hopefully there's great things, there's some funny things. One thing I wanted to kick off right away was the phenomenon, and everybody may not be seeing this phenomena, but I know a lot of us are, this phenomena of I'm getting fired from a consulting firm, and I videoed it.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, that gets to a couple of weird things for me. One is, it's sad that the industry has overhired and then correcting, because that means someone made a decision, and that decision, now I think any experience working in consulting, pure play or PS is good for people, so that's okay. But it's a shock, particularly if you're young. But also the other part of the phenomenon is the willingness to share.
Yes. One of the worst moments of your professional life you want to document for everybody to see. Yeah, I don't know. Is it out of...
We should probably get somebody from another generation to talk to us about this sometime.
No, I'd rather just speculate.
I just want to say right now, I am more empathetic than Anthony.
I'd rather just speculate.
I am more empathetic.
Is it you are looking to catch them saying something that then you can take advantage of later? Or is it truly just I want to make a spectacle of myself?
Okay, I'm going to take a more positive view.
Okay.
But I appreciate that. What if it's just, I know most of the people who are going to see this are intimately and care about me, and they're going to feel my pain as I feel it, and in my community that's important, my age group community that's important.
Well, I don't think most of the people that saw it are doing that, because you and I have seen them, and we have no association with these people.
I'm sorry, that's so great. All right, moving on to something maybe more...
I don't understand it. Can we talk about something we understand?
Yeah, okay. So, there's a big phenomenon going on right now, and you actually brought this up when we were thinking about what to talk about today, is this movement away, and I really want to understand all the pieces, from the generic just buy from the big firm to finding the experts in the boutique firms, and what that phenomenon is going, how that's going, and why it's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I think this came to my radar, and I wanted to talk about it today because of a couple of different things that I'm relating to one another. So last time we did one of these, we talked about big trend of layoffs in the big consulting firms, and how that is overly...
And people videoing.
Well, yeah. And how that is overly weighted to some of the big four, and what some of the drivers to that should have been. Just yesterday, we're recording this on...
Well, and the three big strategy firms, too. The seven big firms.
Yeah. And so we're recording this early December, and so just yesterday, the... announcement came out that McKinsey promoted its smallest group of partners in history against...
Not history, but a few years.
A decline recently amidst reduced demand and cash shortages for other reasons. And
I always think overhiring,
Yep.
and overpromoting.
Yep. But then there were a couple of other things, and I'm going to pull something up here. So hold on, because I saw these two things that I thought it was interesting, and so I wrote them down.
And we'll all be the judge of that.
Yeah. Okay. So two separate surveys, both early or late summer, early fall. One was, we did a survey of people on their experience working with the big consultancies on corporate transformation projects. 84% of those surveyed felt they were no help at all, was the general attitude, where historically it would have been, you're safe hiring a big firm because that's the way it goes. And then of that, only 13% reported they were actually more helpful than they were a hindrance. I found that very interesting. And the other survey that came out on that topic was, what are the reasons firms are selecting consulting firms now? What are the reasons big organizations are selecting consulting firms now? And I want to talk about these factors. One is the reputation of the consultants, which is no longer associated with just the brand name, but it's the individuals themselves. The experience on the client's specific problem and in their industry. their ability to deliver results, which includes senior people being involved to help make it happen rather than a team of juniors being there to just actually do the work, showing up with an army of people. Cost of services is always a big one, and then quality of previous work. So there's...
I wonder if there's also another one that we're not seeing is they don't see the consultants anymore. It's, they're not there every day, right?
Yeah.
So that intimacy of Q&A and smarts helping. But it is a phenomenon that's going on, and we don't know how big we don't know if it's the beginning of a wave or a blip, but I think the item you brought up that I see, and as you know, I often am hired to come and help a CEO with another consulting firm, working with them. And that's always fun because you can help both of them. I obviously care about the success and everything. But what you hear now is, I thought I was getting that person.
Yeah.
And I thought I was getting an expert, not a study. Mm-hmm. And that's interesting.
Yeah, and on the topic of transformations, what I've also, if you dug into some of those articles a little bit further, what it was the topic of studies, right? It was this concept of a bunch of people showed up at a relatively high price point and they produced hey, you should go here. This is your transformation strategy, rather than
transforming anything.
The smaller firms that have built their models around, hey, more senior people are involved. They are there not just telling you what to do, but actually helping you operationalize it. And more, they've lived in a very specific niche or corner of the room, right? To coin a phrase of a friend of ours, right? That hey, this is the one thing that we do and we do it exceptionally well. And so we have all the experience to help you actually get there, rather than the bunches of people that can tell you where to go and can do the research and the analysis on your behalf. So you're no longer outsourcing the research and the analysis that informs your strategy. You're instead looking to hire experts that been there, done that, and can help you actually get there. I think that's a big shift.
Yeah, and that may ebb and flow
Sure.
over the life of consulting, but just your and my experience building a firm, our argument always was, and we were boutique, so we probably like this subject because we were boutique, and that's on us. But we always said, hey, we're not going to study whether you should become services-led, solution-led, or how to be a solution business. You don't need to study that. If you're a B2B company, yes, you're going to commoditize and do that. We're all about making sure you do it successfully. So I can see, and we didn't lose, right? We never lost against another firm. So I can see that and I can feel that, but I also I can see it intellectually, but I've seen executives right now, because we have a new generation of executives as opposed to the ones that always bought consulting the way it was built in the 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s. Yep. That are like, oh, I really don't have time for that, and I really want to move forward. Also, I have seen firsthand, what are all those kids doing?
Well, and I think that's a bigger driver than almost anything else here, which is, I think, AI and the ability to get a lot of the activity-based tasks and some of the research and the analysis and the things that are not I need an advisor to help me get from here to there. All of that stuff is becoming more and more commoditized through AI and that sort of thing. And it's making it equitable for the smaller firms to compete with. I actually needed a bunch of research and analysis done. Historically, the small firms didn't have 30 people to apply to solve this problem as quickly as I wanted. Well, now, with the use of the ChatGPTs of the world and other AI solutions, that's becoming a much more even playing field. And so you can get all of the leverage there with also still getting the expertise and the guidance of somebody that's known on a specific topic in a market.
And we'll be on your project more. So let's take that. Is there going to be pressure on firms to have the more experienced hands more involved on projects? And what will that do to their leverage model?
Yeah, well, I think we've even seen this before the most recent big surge in AI being an extension of the team, so to speak. We've seen the shift almost since COVID of the more senior resources, not just our firm, but across the industry, being the ones that are doing a lot more of the traveling and the in-person time, because the scarcity of those opportunities has increased, and therefore the executives from buyers are looking for peers or similar executives from the firms that they're hiring to participate in that. So I think it's already impacted the staffing models, and maybe that's some of what we're seeing in the hiring changes, or the big firms, like we talked about last time, right? The big firms hired a huge class to anticipate
2 or 3 years
demand, but that class was consultant level, and what they really needed was more manager director level, because and there wasn't just enough work for all the consultants to.
Yeah, it also might be, and you and I are in different generations. It
Really?
might be, yeah. Oh. People probably don't notice. They probably think we're peers.
Yeah,
but I don't want to go down that road. But it might also be this phenomenon that we hear about, that people are less broad, less agile, so that you might have 30-year-olds and early 30s that aren't like the 30-year-olds 20 years ago. Not good or bad, just different. And that pushes more senior people have to be involved. So we'll keep track of this.
Yep.
We'll keep track. It's an interesting phenomenon, and it's a phenomenon that we hear a lot about right now. We'll try to track what's going to happen with the big 7 firms, what's going to happen with the boutique to them, and we have just a huge amount of access to the industry and to executives. So it could be problematic for the industry, could be great for boutique firms. But one of the things you said with boutique firms is always the challenge. It'd almost be perfect to use the big firm brand, but to use the boutiques where they're needed by the big firms, because a thought that probably nobody wants or hasn't had, just because the boutiques challenge is, I'm really good at this, but that's what I do. I'm not good at that.
Yeah.
So I can't cross-sell
and as soon as you branch outside of that, then you lose what makes you special. Unless you do it very carefully, you lose what makes you special in the niche that you are an expert in, because you became known for this thing, and you start to. And
that's where your experience is.
Right.
You definitely dissipate, and you and I've seen it over the years. Clients will ask us, "Hey, would you go do that?" We don't do that. Mm-hmm. Well, we love you. Yeah, but
and we
but
would
you
love
won't
to be able to earn extra revenue from this account and do it. But
I always say, you won't love me when I'm doing that.
Right.
Okay. So now let's move on to some things that we talked a lot about in several of our other sessions with experts. Is this real move in the SaaS business to PS playing? I'm going to use my terms, not terms anybody else has used yet. A more important role, a more meaningful role, and the opportunity to become a more profitable business that then requires the consultants in it to learn the real business of consulting and no longer be viewed as just implementing software. I think that's a wonderful journey. I think it's great for everybody, but as people have talked about, it's a difficult journey.
Yeah, why do you think we're there? I mean, there's kind of valuation changes that have happened, and there was this increased premium placed on just customer acquisition and users and all of that stuff over time at the expense of profitability.
As you said, that was all valuation.
Right, and so I understand how we got to the situation that we're in. What do you see some of the big trends being as to why you think it's changing now?
Well, to quote Bob Wright from Firebrick, it's because the land grab's over. There aren't mathematically enough more accounts for you to go grab. So you've got to make more revenue and more success, not just your own success of the products in those accounts. And no offense to all our brother and sister in that are in the different verticals. Hey, sales doesn't do that. Product development doesn't do that. Customer success was supposed to do that. It doesn't do that because of what they asked for. It's become another sales arm. The only people left that can really work with a client or a customer to drive success is PS.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's.
So you almost could evolve into a PS dominant firm. Nobody's thinking that yet.
No. It's a. And I think what you're really talking about here specifically, I mean, it's impacting a lot of software, but it's really about the big enterprise software, right?
It's really SaaS because of the way they're
Yeah,
their
but
valuation
the
model.
B2B SaaS, the enterprise, the large purchases that are the switching costs become incredibly high for those. The implementation, I mean, the churn rate on some of those enterprise software is down to 1% or less per month, right? I mean, so nobody's going anywhere.
And let's say it's a pyramid.
Yeah.
You've got the oracles and the
Right.
okay, but there's still enterprise stuff that's sticky,
but things
down
that
in the
work
size.
the enterprise, right?
Yeah,
The category of things right there, not necessarily the largest players, but those that serve the enterprise there. And so, yeah, I mean, there's a right. There was the journey of there were the perpetual licenses that existed, and everybody bought up
Swallow
everything.
the fish.
Well, and so everybody bought those, and then this situation occurred back when SaaS sort of evolved, which was there were no more new clients to sell my license to, and I've bought a license forever. And even if I'm unhappy with this perpetual license that I've bought, the implementation cost and the cost of these things, it was just too prohibitive to do a lot of switching. And then the SaaS players came in, or the evolution of that, and disrupted that market again. And so now I can buy this as an OpEx, and I can absorb this over time. And now that's gotten to a spot where, hey, what comes next? And there's not a logical next evolution in the software. It's how do you get more value out of those accounts?
Well, the industry, and Shane, I'm glad you said it that way. One way to look at the tech industry is a stock play, just for a valuation play. That I'm an executive, and I'm going to go, and I'm a developer, and I'm going to go where I can make money and get a transaction. Mm-hmm. So in one way, it's a group of people who move for that, as opposed to I took a job with a major company and I'm going to try to retire there. They go kind of tech event to tech event. So the next tech event, what's next is AI. Yeah. So a lot of talent will be driven over to new product, be them probably all SaaS because valuation so matters. But so yeah, you have that going on. But to your point, just in the enterprise to enterprise software, after you've got most of them, then you've got to retool and do this differently. And so you can keep growth, because valuation in some ways is growth. So you got to change your story to more hookups, to more revenue.
Yeah, how do I get more out of this? And some have tried it through the acquisition model, right? Salesforce, acquire Slack, and all these things, so they can just add more services, and they're always increasing price, and they're doing all of these things, and the customers are feeling I don't want to be in this anymore. And so you see that in some ways. I read the big payment fintech firm Klarna is they are on the, hey, we're going to build all of this in-house. And so the topic of AI is we can now we can now develop a lot of these tools in a homegrown way that solve all these problems. So they're getting off all of the SaaS enterprise platforms as part of their strategy. And there's a bunch of startups that are essentially in the business of let's use AI to generate a good percentage of the outcomes that the large enterprise software produces for a fraction of the cost. And so
that's the theory.
Yeah. So we'll see how that. So if you're one of the big enterprise software providers and you're looking at your business, you own the customer relationship and you're still embedded in that organization. How do you maximize that? How do you retain that? How do you both increase stickiness but also extract more value out of that? And that professional services is a logical spot for that.
Even though they still don't fully understand it or buy into it. Well, I think we've covered a lot of fun things today. Let's just tick them off a little bit. Big changes between big firms and boutique firms. People loving to video them being fired. We got to follow up on that. Don't quite, as you said, let's talk about things we do understand. One last thing, if we could just touch on, because it surprised, I know it surprised you, it surprised me, it surprised everybody I know, the anti-capitalism support for someone who shot an American senior executive.
Yeah. So I mean, and again, we're filming this. So we're talking about Brian Thompson, the United Healthcare CEO. We're filming this the day after the suspect was arrested and brought into custody. And so there's a bunch of things that are unknown, and I don't want to venture into any of the details of the case other than what I found.
Because we don't know.
No. Other than what I found particularly fascinating as we know people in the industry, we know people that knew him. I mean,
we've got a lot of friends that work there.
Yes, yeah, and so the reaction on social media, in some way, I mean, in some ways, it shouldn't have surprised me. It just shocked me, right? Everything from I read an article immediately afterwards, which was all the TikTok sleuths and the people that have historically helped authorities to find these suspects in these cases like this are opting out of participating. Essentially, not saying I don't condone the violence, but I don't have to help the authorities in solving this and catching this person. All the way to very extreme examples. I think there was somebody from the Washington Post or somebody that just got fired as a result of the comments that she made. But it was like, and now everybody should understand why this is happening, because the health insurance companies are taking advantage of us. But it expanded even so much further than just health insurance, right? And it was this very anti-capitalist. If you're a leader of a company and your goal and mission is to extract profits from society, then you deserved what was coming to you. It's so strange to me.
Yeah, it's frightening, and I just want to just plug for capitalism a second. You know what? If you really know history and what really pulled us out of the Middle Ages were advancements in using currency and what we call publicly traded companies now, amassing money, taking risks to ship wine from Bordeaux to London, and that's where insurance came from. Taking risks, assuming, and then all of that raises everybody's income. It lowers violence, war. Okay, so we've been on a capitalism without some moral bonds and some fidelity bonds between people and some government control. Yeah. Capitalism can be traced. But generally speaking, we in the West should be fans of good capitalism. Yeah. To have a rash of people, not one, not two, so many we've all seen it say, good, kill all the executives. Oh my God, you weren't as surprised maybe as I was. I was a little daunted and a little depressed about the whole thing.
I mean, I don't want to spend too much time on it because I mean,
that's good because we don't have much time.
Yeah, but it is. I was surprised by my reaction to it because usually, I mean, things like that happen and you know, I assume, right, with all the mental illness and with everything that's going on in the world, like, okay, I can understand a bad actor doing something that they believe that was whatever, that they believed was right? And I don't agree with that, but like I can understand that situation happening, but
or mental illness.
Yeah, I mean, whatever it is that caused something like that. But this one felt so different to me that I found myself like almost feeling like, okay, I understand a little bit about this, and I understand the healthcare system in America is broken in so many ways and feels broken in even more ways. And those are things that are corporate incentives. Those are things that are structural things. Those are the moral hazard associated with the insurance and the discount plans. Yeah. I mean, there's all these things, and I felt myself
and it's complex.
Oh, it's very complex.
We're not judging it here. It's complex.
And so I felt myself being like, well, I want to explain that, like, all of you that are upset, are you really upset for this reason, or do you understand this? And like, that's just not my natural tendency in these things. But I was just so surprised by the reaction to it, and I don't know what to do.
Well, yeah, and we'll end on this, but the executives are real people. They have real families, right?
And they're in a.
It's not a abstract thing.
No.
All right. So on a positive note,
yeah,
we've had a lot of fun. We've talked about some things we think are important today, and we'll be back soon.